a badass way. All the mamas in the house, let's slay. 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 Rise and shine, it's a brand new day. Got the hustle in my heart, I'm ready to play. Juggling the bills while I chase my dreams. Nothing's gonna stop this mama, or so it seems. With little ones around, running wild and free. I got my own empire, it's just you and me. From the crack of dawn, I lace up my shoes. Coffee in my cup, no time for the blues. So raise your glass, here's to all the queens. Badass mamas living all our dreams. We got the sparkle, we got the heart. We got every step we take, we're breaking apart. So raise your glass, here's to all the queens. Badass mamas living all our dreams. We got the sparkle, we got the heart. With every step we take, we're breaking apart. Bills pile high, but I won't lose sight. Got my fierce mama vibe, I'm ready to fight. Navigate the struggles, I'm the captain here. With my dreams in focus, no room for fear. Building my kingdom brick by gritty brick. Every setback just makes me more slick. With each lesson learned, I turn pain into power. Here comes the queen, watch me rise by the hour. So raise your glass, here's to all the queens. Badass mamas living all our dreams. We got the sparkle, we got the heart. With every step we take, we're breaking apart.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Mama Moves. I am your host, Jara N. Ortiz, and I want to start this time around by reintroducing myself. I like to do that from time to time for those that are joining for the very first time. So my name is Jara N. Ortiz. I am the owner and CEO of BCS Bookkeeping Consulting Services. And I am also the founder of Money Moves with Jara. I am a financial consultant. I am a master personal financial coach, author, speaker, and TV host. As a financial consultant via BCS, I specialize in working with nonprofits. I help them get their finances, their books in order by building strong structure, bookkeeping, and financial management systems. And I also do serve service-based small businesses. As a master personal financial coach with Money Moves, I help women, and more specifically single moms, with money management. I help them manage their money in a way that fits their lifestyle by creating a personalized money plan to help them get out of debt and start creating a savings plan and build long-term financial stability. That is me. So let's get down to business. Today, I want to talk about emergency funds and savings. In other words, paying yourself, because that's basically what we're doing. That's basically what it is. Putting money to the side for you, like you're paying yourself for rainy days or a specific goal. And most people avoid this topic or savings altogether because they're stressed thin already and trying to survive. So it feels unrealistic to them. Right? And most people think that emergency fund sounds responsible, but then it feels impossible for them. Like, pay yourself first sounds cute until something hits, until the rent hits and is due, the kids need something, grocery cost goes like skyrocket, and life starts lifing, right? And throwing curveballs left and right with no warnings. So building an emergency fund or saving money becomes the thing that waits and waits and waits and then waits some more. But in fact, building an emergency fund or saving money is not about willpower or having extra money. It's about strategy, right? If saving only worked for people with extra money, nobody will ever save. Because what actually happens is that money comes in and it already has assignments, and it is already, and sometimes needs, something needs it, always something needed, always something wanted. And most people are trained to think short term right now, like take care of right now, today, and rarely for future or long term. So, and if it's not planned, then the money's already gone before you actually even see or hit your bank account. So today we're going to talk about What emergency funds really are, why waiting for extra money keeps people stuck, and how paying yourself first, it's not selfish. It's sort of survival, but with intention. Different kind of survival. So stability doesn't really happen by accident. It needs to be planned and worked on with intention. Let's talk about emergency fund and what an emergency fund really is, because this is where a lot of people get tripped up. There is so much confusion around what an emergency fund actually is and how it's different from saving money. People use this word interchangeably, and that is the part. It is part as to why this whole thing feels harder than it should really be and confusing. So to clear that up, an emergency fund is not your vacation money. It's not your Christmas stash, and it is definitely not some nice to have goal you'll circle back to when life finally slows down. Because to be honest, that season doesn't magically show up. Life doesn't tap you on the shoulder and just magically say, okay, now you're good, go save some money, right? You need to make it happen. So an emergency fund has one job and one job only, and that is to catch you when life throws something unexpected your way. Not the fun stuff, not the planned stuff, the inconvenient stuff, or what you did not plan or ask for or didn't even see coming, right? It just came out of left field. An emergency fund is the buffer between you and panic, between you and chaos. And it is the thing that keeps one surprise expense from turning into a full blown chaos. Because without it, everything feels urgent. Every unexpected bill feels like an emergency, even when it should not, even when it's really not an emergency. And that's where things usually spiral. So without an emergency fund, something small happens, and now you are swiping a credit card, you are borrowing money, taking out a loan, rearranging bills, or telling yourself, I'll just fix it next month, and then next month comes, and then what happens? Yeah, exactly that. Something else pops up, and before you know it, you didn't take care of it next month. Months pass by, and you're not dealing with one emergency anymore. You're dealing with the aftermath of five, even more emergencies that came along the way in between. So that's how emergencies quietly turn into long-term debt, right? And that is why this matters so much. And an emergency fund is really important because it makes you stable. So you don't have to say yes to yes out of fear, or swipe out your credit card or take out a loan out of desperation. And you don't have to make rush decisions either. And you don't have that actually won't serve you or don't serve you um, at all. So having an emergency fund is not about having a lot of money. It's about having options and doing it strategically and intentionally and making it part of the plan. So that's what an emergency fund really is. Now, how is that different from saving money? So, saving money can have many purposes. Saving is money you're putting aside on purpose, for a purpose, for things that you already know are coming. It is planned, it is intentional. You have a goal, you have an amount set up. Not that you, I mean, an emergency fund, you also should have an amount set up, but talking about saving, it is planned, it is intentional, it is an amount that you know. It's not about panic or a surprise. It's about preparation. So saving is for the things that you can see ahead of you, right? You see it coming, like birthdays, a vacation that you're planning, back to school expenses for the kids, car maintenance that you know the annual maintenance is coming, or you know that in 2 3 months you need to change the tires or whatnot. Trips and specific goals you already know are on the calendar and you're prepping for it. So that's the difference, right? Saving gives you control. It lets you handle expenses without the emotional stress of scrambling or swiping, without that tight feeling in your chest, like when money leaves the account. And more importantly, it keeps you from feeling like every upcoming expense is an emergency, because it's not. And most of the time, it's just not an emergency. So savings, in other words, changes the dynamic, and it turns and oh no. to I get this, right? So it's different. So here's a simple way to really remember the difference between an emergency fund and saving money. So an emergency fund protect you from the unexpected versus saving money supports the expected. So both matter, both have a place, both have a purpose, and both work together to move you out of a constant reaction mode. So when you have both, money stops feeling like it's always chasing you and you start leading instead of reacting and turning into, pulling your hair off. And that's when things begin to feel lighter. And that's the goal, right? To create that stability. Now, let's talk about the reality behind all of this because this is not just about it's not a mindset thing. It's not only a mindset thing, although yes, mindset definitely is key. It is super important as well, and in all of this saving and shifting and all of that. But there are real numbers that explain why emergency funds matter so much. So nearly 6 out of 10 Americans cannot cover a $400 emergency without borrowing money or using a credit card or selling something. And to be honest and real, that's not a huge amount of money. $400 is not like a huge staggering amount of money. And that's exactly the point. Most emergencies are not massive. They're common though, right? Everyday surprises that show up at the worst possible time. And when you look at what actually pushes people into debt, it's usually not reckless spending. It is the medical bills. It is a car repair, a flat that you got all of a sudden. If it's life happening when there's no cushion. So most financial emergencies are not big. They're just unexpected and badly timed, real badly timed. And that is the part that matters, right? The emergency is not necessarily the problem. Not having a buffer is. So, because without a buffer, even a small expense feels like crisis. And that's when people swipe a credit card. That's how when people borrow from banks or someone and start shuffling bills around just to survive the moment. And then that moment turns into a longer problem because then those bills that you push to the side and shift it, they fall behind, late fees get added, interest get added to the balance, and it's a whole chain reaction, right? And you are really putting yourself in the hole even deeper. How an emergency fund should actually be, what it should look like, because this is where people either overthink it or talk themselves out of even starting. So you've probably heard the 3 to 6 months of expenses advice, and that is a solid long-term goal to get your emergency fund to, and that's actually what I teach in my FBU Financial Peace University classes where I teach Dave Ramsey's baby steps. But it's not where most people should start, especially if money already feels tight, right? Think about an emergency fund in layers, not as a single one giant number. The first goal is not months of expenses. The first goal is creating breathing room, right? And that's where the $1,000 goal for an emergency fund comes into place, right? It means starting with a small uh, uh, amount to start building that momentum and start building your emergency fund, and starting with 500 to $1,000. I always say $1,000, but 500 to $1,000 in savings, which is it is also like I said, what I talk about in my FBU classes, because that alone can handle a car repair. It can handle a medical bill that you didn't expect seeing in the mail, and it can handle an unexpected gap without throwing you straight into debt. And that first layer is very, very crucial because it interrupts panic or just reaction, right? Because you have it, you could take care of it, and you're good. So from there, you should then build based on your actual life. So what I mean by that is that if you are a single person, it's a single person household, no dependents, your emergency fund doesn't need to look the same as someone supporting a whole family, because your expenses are different and your risks are different, right? If you're a couple or a two income household, your emergency fund should cover what happens if one income is disrupted. So it should be based on, if one income is just all of a sudden stops, then that one other income that is left should be the one to cover that emergency fund. It should be the amount based on that. So it will cover if something happens to that second income. So not just the best case scenario. So if you are the sole provider or a single parent, single mama household, then this is even more important because there's no backup income. No one else is stepping in to catch the gap. And that means that your emergency fund is not optional. Your emergency fund then becomes protection. A simple way to think about this is, one person household, aim for that 3 months of core expenses over time. Families of or single income, single parent household, aim for that 4 to 6 months, depending on stability and depending on again of your expenses and what you have going on. So when I say expenses, when I say core expenses, I mean the basics, which is what you cannot live without. The housing, the utilities, food, transportation, insurance, not the extras, just what keeps your life running and what really holds your four walls and your roof. That's it, right? That's what I mean by core expenses. And of course, you don't build this overnight. You don't wait for extra money. You don't wait for life to calm down for you to start building this. You start with what you can, little by little, step by step, and creating that momentum, that shift, and actually making it part of your plan so you can start building from there. Because even small amounts change how you respond to stress. They give you options, and options are what keep emergencies from becoming setbacks that follow you for years and years and years and years. And an emergency fund is not about being perfect, it's about being prepared and having that real cushion that way, if something falls down, that cushion is there, right? And every dollar you put, there is you choosing stability over chaos. All right, people, let's just go into a commercial break, a quick take a pause and go into a quick break. So go stretch it out, go get some water, get hydrated, and I see you back in just a minute. Alrighty, guys, we are back. Welcome back. If you are tuning in, if you are just tuning in, welcome, and you're right on time. Thank you for joining us. So let's just continue the conversation. We are now getting into why most people never actually build an emergency fund, even when they know they should. So let's just talk about what really gets in the way of that. Most people never build an emergency fund in the first place because they are stuck in patterns and they were never designed to help them win, right? Those patterns that never were designed to help them win. The first big reason is that most people wait for extra money. That's one of the biggest and most common ones. People just wait for extra money, and extra money rarely shows up, right? Most people tell themselves, when things calm down, I'll start saving. Once I get a raise, I'll start saving. But life doesn't just calm down. You just don't get a raise out of the blue. Bills don't suddenly disappear. Something always need your money, and what most people don't realize is that life expands to whatever income you have. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by this is that when you make more money, spending usually grows with it somehow, some way. You know, that's why one of the things that I tell my clients, like if they do get a raise, I said, forget that you even get a raise. Continue your life as if you did not get a raise, right? But somehow, some way, more income means that the spending grows with it somehow, some way. And when money comes in without a plan, it already has somewhere to go. So waiting for extra money just keeps people waiting and waiting and waiting, then waiting some more. Months pass by, sometimes years pass by because there is no plan, there is no structure. So another reason people never build an emergency fund is because they think it has to be big to really matter. And they hear numbers like 5,000, 10,000, or whatever the case, 3, 4, 6 months of expenses, and their brain immediately shuts down because it's illogical for them. That's why starting little by little with a low number, like I said before, 500 to 1,000, depending on your household and what you have going on, is the most logical amount to start with. And then you build from there, right? But at least something, right? And then it feels overwhelming. So instead of starting small, they don't start at all. But the part that people miss is that a small emergency fund still changes behavior, right? Which is super important because you are shifting your mindset, right? Your money mindset, and therefore your relationship with money, right? You are creating that habit, that new habit of saving, putting money to the side, and creating that and building that momentum, right? And even a few $100s can keep you from swiping a credit card and getting more into debt or going for a loan, whatever the case may be. A few $100 can even slow you down just enough to think instead of panicking or reacting, and that is huge. That is a huge shift because that few $100s that you started with can also help you avoid from always restarting instead of building, which is another reason why people refrain from building an emergency fund. Something comes up, the savings get wiped out, shame creeps in, and instead of rebuilding, they just quit altogether. And this is actually, I actually talk about this in my last episode, breaking the self-sabotage cycle with money, right? Because there is such thing as financial self-sabotage, right? Which is, I strongly recommend you to go back and watch that episode that I did 2 weeks ago, because I talk about how self-sabotage is quiet, how it is low-key, and it blends into your everyday life so well that people don't even recognize is themselves sabotaging their finances. So they stay stuck in that cycle. And it is so normal. They're so immune to it, which is what makes it dangerous and super difficult to break it because they don't see it. They just don't see it. So going back, people quit instead altogether instead of rebuilding. And they tell themselves, what's the point if I can keep money anyway? So starting over is not failure, quitting is, right? And an emergency fund are meant to be used. That's why you are building it for, right? So you build it little by little, life happened, something happened, you go to your emergency fund to cover, you're good to go. The fund did its job, right? It cover an emergency. Yay. The problem is not you using the emergency fund. The problem is never going back to rebuilding it, right? You should be constantly rebuilding that, right? And having the bigger the cushion, the less the hit, right? The less you will feel it, right? So that's why consistency matters more than perfection. You should continually build or rebuild your emergency fund. And how do we do that? By paying yourself. What I mean by this is that paying yourself first does not mean ignoring bills. Of course not. They will always come. They will never forget about you. It does not mean pretending responsibilities don't exist. And it definitely doesn't mean being selfish. Absolutely not. It's the opposite. You are really taking care of yourself and yours and your family and your household. It means paying yourself first means your future doesn't get whatever is left. That's what it means. It means that you are a non-negotiable line item in your money plan. You need to make it part of your plan. You need to make it part of your budget, just like the rent, just like utilities, and just like the groceries are. Your needs, your cushion is not optional. Your financial safety is not something, it should not be something you circle back to when things get better. Because if you're always last, guess what, my friend? You're always going to be behind and stay behind. Nothing is just going to happen, right? It's like running in circles. And this is especially important for people who are used to surviving. When you are in survival mode, you're trained to react. You handle what's the loudest, what's most urgent, which most times is not necessarily urgent. It just feels that way automatically because you know you have nothing to cover, so it automatically feels urgent, which then makes building your emergency fund or your saving an urgency until it's too late, because you cannot start building and putting money to the side when the emergency and the situation is right in your face. It doesn't go like, it should not be like that. And this is where budgeting comes in, because without a month to month money plan, saving feels random and frustrating because you cannot see. So it is always wandering. That's why sometimes, or most times, money comes in and it goes out and you don't even know where it went. Truth is that a lot of people say they don't like budgets. But why? Why? What they really don't like is feeling restricted, which is not, absolutely not the purpose and how the a budget should be. It's not what a budget is. A budget is not restriction. A budget is not punishment. It is, simple said, it is a plan, a roadmap for your money. It is simply you telling your money where to go before it disappears, before it controls you, instead of the other way around. It's you assigning a job to every single dollar you get. Every single dollar should have a place to go in your budget that you assigned it to. It has to have a job, right? And one of the jobs should be paying yourself, should be emergency fund, it should be saving, and then the bills and everything like that. It should have a job, because without a plan, money leaks. And what happens when you have a leak? Little by little, that drop, and then with time, the cup is going to get empty. Because without a plan, money leaks, it doesn't vanish, it just gets spent on things, it gets spent on things you didn't need to prioritize, whether intentionally or unintentionally. When you don't have a budget, when you don't have a month to month money plan, savings become an afterthought, something you try to squeeze in at the end of the month, if there's anything left. That is a big if. And most of the time, there's nothing left. That's why budgeting and paying yourself first go hand in hand. A real money plan looks at what's coming in, what has to go out, and what needs to be protected, period. You give a job to every dollar. You are the one that should have the control to assign your every income a job as to where it's going to go. And a budget creates space for savings before spending. This doesn't mean saving hundreds of dollars right away. Like I said before, it's little by little to create that momentum and create that shift and start building the habit, right? For most people, paying yourself first starts with something small but consistent. That is key, right? Remember, we're building, which it takes time. That's why consistency is key, and it is super, super important. So $10 here, $20 there, $25 over there. You couldn't do 25 this month, go back to 10, whatever the case, but something, right? Consistency, which builds trust, and trust builds momentum. And that momentum, you're breaking the cycles. You're building new healthy money cycles. And people with even with small savings are far less likely to rely on swiping a credit card or borrowing money and getting into more debt when something unexpected happens, compared to someone who doesn't. People who have a small amount in their savings or emergency fund are more likely to pause, assess the situation, and make decisions instead of reacting emotionally. That's why people that don't have any cushion, any nothing saved or an emergency fund automatically react because they get so scared and it's just chaos for them. A flat tire could be chaos and a super emergency when it should not be. So having that emergency fund and being able to giving yourself the opportunity to pause and assess and make decision, that's power right there. And that's what budgeting does. That's what having a money plan month to month after month really does. It gives you control over your money and clarity to see where you stand financially. So again, budgeting is not restriction, it is actually freedom because you know exactly where you stand financially because you have that clarity, right? And clarity is what lets you build emergency funds without feeling like you are constantly behind. Because once your money has a plan, saving stops feeling impossible and it becomes intentional. It becomes predictable, it becomes doable. And over time, that changes how you relate to money entirely because you stop feeling like money is always slipping through your fingers. You stop feeling like one surprise could knock everything over and you start living in reaction mode, right? That's the shift, right? Build that protection while life is still happening. That's what this really is about because stability is something you build little by little with consistency, right? Now let's just wrap this up. If this episode stirs something up for you, stress, guilt, frustration, maybe even a little hope, I want you to know that that's normal. Money is a very touchy feely emotional topic because it touches almost every, if not every, area of our lives. Money is survival. Money is safety. It's control. And for many of us, money has never felt calm or neutral. It's felt loud, demanding, never enough. It's been tied to fear, tied to shame. Sometimes it even feels judgmental, judgy, right? So if that's been your experience, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It usually means that you were never truly taught about money and how to manage it, how to plan with it. Uh, uh, and instead, it's been something heavy on your shoulders for a very long time. And that's why people really struggle with changing that, shifting that. So if you don't have an emergency fund right now, if you don't have some same money saved up right now, or if you never even thought about it before, that's okay too. It usually means you've been doing the best you can with what you had and what you knew, while still handling life and trying to duck those curveballs, right? That like be throwing. And the real question is not where you are right now. The real question here is, are you going to keep the cycle or are you ready to break it? Think about that. Like really, really give it a thought. Because emergency funds and saving money are not about being perfect. They are about deciding to plan for the future you deserve. They are about creating breathing room so you don't suffocate, right? And it's about protecting your peace, your family, your health, because it does go there too. It does affect your health all around. And that doesn't happen with big traumatic moves. Everything should, like any goal, any change, any shifting, it starts small, but it needs intentional steps. It needs consistency, it needs commitment. And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable at times because we are changing, we're shifting things. And like any other type of change, it is uncomfortable, but it needs to happen if you want to grow, if you want to get to the other side and get out of the hole. You don't wait for life to calm down. You build it while life is happening. That's how things happen. You just go with it as life goes on because life will always continue going on and moving forward. That's why budgeting matters. That's why having a plan, a simple month-to-month money plan matters. Not to control you, not to restrict you, not to punish you, because it's not that, but to give your money direction, to give your money, your every dollar a job, so that money stops controlling you and running the show because you are the one who should be running the show. You run the show. You control your money. And when your money has a plan, you have more peace. So if you've been living in reaction mode for a long time, you don't have to figure this out on your own. You don't need to wait till you are better with money. You don't need to have it all together before asking for support, and you don't need to feel embarrassed or ashamed. That's literally why I do what I do. That's why I really love helping people making sense of their money. No judgment, no shame, nothing. Transparency, realness, of course, but gentle and with love, tough love, right? So if you're ready to start the conversation about building an emergency fund, and if you want to help creating saving that actually stick, and you want a realistic money plan that fits your life where you are right now, I'm here. I'm here. You can DM me directly on Facebook. Just search me by my name. It goes as Yara and Ortiz, exactly how it appears on the screen. And let's just have a conversation. No pressure, no judgment, just a conversation. Let's just start the conversation to see what's going on. How can I best help you? Because taking control of your money doesn't start with numbers. It starts with support. It starts with clarity and having someone to walk with you through it. Okay? We all need help in our lives at some point, some way, somehow. We cannot do this alone. We cannot do life alone. And that includes money and help with money and finances. Yes. So I'm only a DM away. Okay. So thank you so much, guys, for spending this time with me. Thank you so much. I really hope this helped you some way, somehow. And as always, I see you. I feel you. I am you. We're in this together. Stay grounded, stay fierce, and let's keep making those badass mama moves. See you in the next one.
Yeah, it's the badass way. All the mamas in the house, let's slay. 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 Yeah, yeah, yeah. Rise and shine, it's a brand new day. Got the hustle in my heart, I'm ready to play. Juggling the bills while I chase my dreams. Nothing's gonna stop this mama, or so it seems. With little ones around, running wild and free. I got my own empire, it's just you and me. From the crack of dawn, I lace up my shoes. Coffee in my cup, no time for the blues. So raise your glass, here's to all the queens. Badass mamas living all our dreams. We got the sparkle, we got the heart. We got every step we take, we're breaking apart. So raise your glass, here's to all the queens. Badass mamas living all our dreams. We got the sparkle, we got the heart. With every step we take, we're breaking apart. Bills pile high, but I won't lose sight. Got my fierce mama vibe, I'm ready to fight. Navigate the struggles, I'm the captain here. With my dreams in focus, no room for fear. Building my kingdom brick by gritty brick. Every setback just makes me more slick. With each lesson learned, I turn pain into power. Here comes the queen, watch me rise by the hour. So raise your glass, here's to all the queens. Badass mama moves, living all our dreams. We got the sparkle, we got the heart. With every step we take, we're breaking apart. This is your prosperity.